Marcus Williams, a 28-year-old black man with deep brown skin, stood in front of his tiny apartment bathroom mirror at 3 a.m. His reflection showed the exhaustion in his dark brown eyes, the weight of 2 years of struggle etched into his handsome angular face. He had a strong jawline and short-cropped black hair. Paint stains dotted his worn gray janitor uniform, remnants of a life he once lived as a celebrated artist. 2 years ago, Marcus had everything: a thriving career, gallery shows, respect in Chicago's art world. Then David Thompson, his best friend since college, stole his artwork designs and sold them as his own. The betrayal destroyed Marcus. Lawsuits cost him everything. The art world labeled him washed up and past his prime at only 28 years old. Now Marcus worked 3 jobs just to survive. During the day he delivered food. In the evenings he stocked shelves at a grocery store. At night, he cleaned offices in Chicago's fancy downtown buildings. His hands, once celebrated for creating beautiful art, now pushed mops and emptied trash cans. Tonight, Marcus entered the gleaming glass tower on Michigan Avenue. His cleaning cart squeaked as he rolled it across the marble lobby. The building was silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights. He took the elevator to the 40th floor, where the executive offices were located. Marcus pulled out his checklist. Conference rooms, hallways, bathrooms, all standard. But tonight, he noticed light spilling from under a door marked Jin-Woo Park, CO. The office was supposed to be empty. Marcus hesitated. Should he come back later? No, he needed to finish his route and get to his next job. He knocked softly. No answer. Marcus carefully opened the door. Inside the office, Marcus found a 35-year-old Korean man sitting behind a massive mahogany desk, staring intensely at multiple security camera monitors. Jin-Woo Park had pale skin, sharp cheekbones, a straight nose and dark, penetrating eyes beneath perfectly groomed black hair styled in a professional side part. He wore an expensive black suit with a crisp white shirt, the top button undone, and his tie loosened, signs of a long, exhausting day. Jin-Woo looked up and for a moment their eyes met. Marcus expected anger at being interrupted. Instead he saw something unexpected: curiosity. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Park," Marcus stammered, gripping his mop. "I didn't realize anyone was still here. I can come back." "No, it's fine," Jin-Woo said, his voice deep but gentle with a slight accent. He gestured to Marcus's uniform. "You have paint on your sleeve. Are you an artist?" Marcus looked down at the blue paint stain he tried to scrub out earlier. "Used to be," he said quietly. "Used to be." Jin-Woo leaned back in his leather chair, studying Marcus with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "You're young. What happened?" Something in Jin-Woo's tone, genuine interest without judgment, made Marcus answer honestly. Maybe it was the exhaustion or the loneliness, or the fact that this stranger's eyes held a similar kind of pain. "My best friend stole my work and sold it as his own," Marcus said. "David Thompson. Maybe you've heard of him. He's pretty famous now, using my designs." Jin-Woo's expression darkened. "I know about betrayal from people you trust," he said softly. "My own family tried to push me out of the family business because they thought I was too soft, too kind. They wanted someone ruthless." Marcus found himself sitting down in the chair across from Jin-Woo's desk, something he never would have dared to do normally. But Jin-Woo didn't seem to mind. They talked for over an hour. Jin-Woo explained he was looking for someone to help design a community art center he wanted to build. "I need someone I can trust," Jin-Woo said. "Someone with talent and integrity. Someone who understands what it means to lose everything but still shows up every night with paint stains on their uniform because they can't stop being who they really are." Marcus felt his heart race. "Why would you trust me? You just met me." "Sometimes you know," Jin-Woo said simply. "I've learned to trust my instincts about people. And my instincts tell me you're exactly who I need." Marcus stared at Jin-Woo Park, this powerful CEO who seemed genuinely interested in helping him. Every instinct screamed at him to be careful. The last time he trusted someone, David had destroyed his life. The art world had abandoned him. Even friends who'd praised his work suddenly didn't return his calls. "I appreciate the offer, Mr. Park," Marcus said slowly, standing up from the chair. "But I learned my lesson about people who make promises. Everyone loved me when I was successful. When I fell, they disappeared." Jin-Woo stood too, walking around his desk. Up close, Marcus could see the weariness in his face, the shadows under his eyes that expensive suits couldn't hide. "I understand your hesitation," Jin-Woo said. "You'd be foolish to trust me immediately." "Then why make the offer?" Marcus challenged. "Because I'm lonely," Jin-Woo admitted, his voice dropping. I'm surrounded by people all day, employees, business partners, family members, but I can't trust any of them. They want something from me, money, power, connections. You didn't even know who I was when you walked in here. Marcus saw the truth in Jin-Woo's eyes. This wasn't a powerful CEO making a business proposition. This was a human being reaching out to another human being. What if I'm not as good as you think? Marcus asked. What if I really am washed up? That's not what I see, Jin-Woo said firmly. He pointed at Marcus's paint-stained uniform. I see someone who still carries paint on their clothes while cleaning offices. That tells me you haven't given up. You still create even when no one's watching. That's not washed up. That's resilient. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. The armor he'd built around his heart over 2 years of rejection and pain. What exactly would this job involve? He asked cautiously. Jin-Woo's face lit up, transforming him from exhausted businessman to excited visionary. I want to build an art center in a neighborhood that needs hope. A place where kids can learn to paint, sculpt, create. Where talented people who've been overlooked can show their work. I have the money and the connections, but I don't have the artistic vision. I need someone who understands what art means to people who have nothing else. That's beautiful, Marcus whispered. I'll pay you a real salary, Jin-Woo continued. You can quit these exhausting jobs. Focus on designing the center and creating again. Trial period, 3 months. If it doesn't work, no hard feelings. Marcus thought about his tiny apartment, his empty bank account, his aching body from working 3 jobs. He thought about his unused paints gathering dust in a closet. He thought about the dreams he'd buried. Okay, Marcus said finally. 3 months. But I need you to understand, I can't handle another betrayal. If this is some kind of game, please tell me now. Jin-Woo extended his hand. No games. Just 2 people who understand loneliness trying to build something meaningful. Marcus shook his hand, feeling the firm, warm grip. When do I start? Tomorrow, Jin-Woo said, smiling for the first time. His whole face changed, becoming younger, more open. Meet me here at 10 a.m. Dress however you want. Bring your ideas. As Marcus left the office, his cleaning cart forgotten, he felt something he hadn't felt in 2 years, hope. He didn't know that this decision would change his entire life. He didn't know about Jin-Woo's secrets, the danger ahead, or the love that would grow between them. All he knew was that for the first time since David's betrayal, someone saw him, really saw him, and believed in him. 3 months passed like a dream Marcus was afraid to wake from. Every morning he met Jin-Woo at the office, but their meetings never felt like work. Jin-Woo, dressed in his signature black suits with perfectly tailored white shirts, would listen intently as Marcus, now wearing comfortable jeans and paint-splattered t-shirts, sketched ideas for the art center. But Marcus began noticing strange things about Jin-Woo's life. Men in dark suits with earpieces constantly surrounded the building. People treated Jin-Woo with unusual respect mixed with fear, bowing deeply, speaking in hushed tones. Jin-Woo received mysterious phone calls that he'd take in private, his face becoming hard and cold, so different from the gentle warmth he showed Marcus. Who were those men in the lobby? Marcus asked one afternoon as they reviewed architectural plans. Jin-Woo's jaw tightened. Security. My family's business requires protection. Marcus wanted to ask more, but something in Jin-Woo's expression stopped him. Instead, they returned to discussing paint colors and lighting fixtures. Their relationship deepened beyond the art center project. Jin-Woo taught Marcus about Korean culture, bringing homemade kimchi his mother had made. Marcus introduced Jin-Woo to jazz music, playing Miles Davis while they worked. They shared meals, Korean barbecue, deep dish pizza, late-night coffee. One evening, while sharing takeout in Jin-Woo's office, Marcus watched Jin-Woo laugh at a story about Marcus's childhood in Chicago. Jin-Woo's dark eyes crinkled at the corners, his usually serious face transformed by genuine joy. You're different than I expected, Marcus admitted. What did you expect? Jin-Woo asked, setting down his chopsticks. Someone colder. More distant. You're this powerful CO, but you're also kind. Jin-Woo's expression became vulnerable. I've spent my whole life being what my family needed, strong, ruthless, untouchable. But with you I can just be Jin-Woo. Just a person. Marcus felt his heart skip. I like just Jin-Woo, he said softly. Their eyes met and the air between them changed. Jin-Woo reached across the table, his pale hand covering Marcus's darker one. Neither pulled away. I haven't felt this way in. Jin-Woo started then stopped. Actually, I've never felt this way. Me neither, Marcus whispered. With Jin-Woo's encouragement, Marcus started painting again. Not for galleries or critics but for himself. He painted late into the night, creating vibrant pieces about survival, hope, and new beginnings. Jin-Woo would visit his apartment, watching Marcus work with an expression of pure admiration. "You're brilliant," Jin-Woo said one night, standing behind Marcus as he painted a canvas of a phoenix rising from ashes. Marcus turned, paintbrush still in hand, leaving a streak of orange on Jin-Woo's expensive white shirt. "Oh no, I'm so sorry." But Jin-Woo just laughed, pulling Marcus close. They kissed for the first time, surrounded by paint fumes and possibility. Marcus was setting up paintings in Jin-Woo's office when a familiar voice made his blood run cold. "Marcus? Marcus Williams? Is that really you?" He turned to see David Thompson standing in the doorway. David was a 29-year-old black man with light brown skin, a round face, calculating hazel eyes, and an expensive haircut. He wore a designer gray suit and carried himself with arrogant confidence. Confidence built on stolen talent. "David," Marcus said flatly. "Man, I heard you were working with Jin-Woo Park. That's amazing." David stepped forward, arms open for a hug. Marcus didn't return. "Listen, I've been wanting to reach out. I know things ended badly between us, but I'm different now. I've grown." Marcus's hands clenched into fists. "You stole my work. You destroyed my career." I know, David said, his expression shifting to practiced remorse. "I was young and stupid and jealous of your talent. I've regretted it every day. Can't we move past it? For old time's sake." Every instinct told Marcus to refuse. But a small part of him, the part that remembered late-night study sessions in college, laughing over pizza, dreaming about their futures, wanted to believe people could change. "I don't trust you," Marcus said carefully. "But I believe in second chances. You can be around but only as an acquaintance. Nothing more." David's smile widened. "That's all I'm asking for, brother." Jin-Woo entered then, his 35-year-old face stern and protective. His pale skin seemed even paler against his black suit as his dark eyes assessed David with immediate suspicion. "Jin-Woo, this is David Thompson," Marcus introduced reluctantly. "The artist," Jin-Woo said coldly. "I've seen your work. Interesting style." David preened, not catching the edge in Jin-Woo's voice. "Thank you. Marcus and I actually studied together. I've been telling him we should reconnect." Jin-Woo's jaw tightened but he said nothing. After David left, Jin-Woo pulled Marcus aside. "Be careful with him. I don't trust people who suddenly reappear after causing harm." "I know," Marcus said. "I'm not stupid. I won't let him close again." But David was clever. Over the following weeks he inserted himself into Marcus's life, showing up at coffee shops where Marcus worked, commenting on social media posts, sending casual text messages. Marcus kept him at arm's length, but David was always watching, always listening. One afternoon, David appeared at Jin-Woo's building with takeout, claiming he wanted to make amends properly. Marcus, trying to be forgiving, allowed him to join them for lunch. David's hazel eyes darted around Jin-Woo's office, taking in the security monitors, the locked filing cabinets, the men in suits visible through the window. He asked seemingly innocent questions. "What exactly does your company do, Jin-Woo? Why so much security? Marcus, you must feel like you've hit the jackpot working with someone so powerful." Jin-Woo's responses were curt and vague, but Marcus noticed him becoming more tense. Later that week, David hid a small recording device in Jin-Woo's office during a visit. Neither Marcus nor Jin-Woo noticed. The device captured a private conversation where Jin-Woo, exhausted and vulnerable after a particularly difficult day dealing with his family, admitted to Marcus, "My family built an underground protection organization decades ago. I inherited it. We protect legitimate businesses from criminal threats, but technically what we do operates outside the law. I'm trying to legitimize everything but it's complicated." Marcus had simply held Jin-Woo, understanding the burden of family expectations and complicated legacies. David retrieved the recording device days later, his round face splitting into a greedy smile as he listened. He'd discovered Jin-Woo's secret. More importantly, he'd realized Marcus and Jin-Woo were in love. Jealousy consumed him. Marcus was supposed to be ruined, not thriving. Not loved by someone powerful. David began planning his revenge. Marcus woke to his phone exploding with notifications. Hundreds of messages, missed calls, social media alerts. His hands shook as he opened the first message from a former colleague. "How could you? I thought you had integrity." Confused and terrified, Marcus checked social media. His stomach dropped. David had posted the recording of Jin-Woo admitting to running an underground protection organization. But worse, David had added lies, claiming that Marcus had known about Jin-Woo's illegal activities from the beginning and was using Jin-Woo for money, manipulating the lonely CEO for personal gain. The posts were everywhere, spreading like wildfire. #MarcusWilliamsExposed trended on Twitter. People called him a con artist, a criminal, a manipulator. Marcus's phone rang. Jin-Woo's name appeared on the screen. "Marcus, have you seen?" Jin-Woo's deep voice was tight with stress. "Yes," Marcus whispered, tears streaming down his face. "Jin-Woo, I swear I didn't know David was recording. I didn't tell anyone about your business. I would never." "I know," Jin-Woo said quietly. "I know you didn't. But the police are involved now. My lawyers are handling it, but Marcus, my family is furious. They're blaming you for the exposure." "What does that mean?" Marcus asked, though he already knew. "It means you might be in danger," Jin-Woo said. "My uncle and my cousins, they're not like me. They handle problems differently." Marcus heard voices in the background, angry Korean voices shouting. Jin-Woo arguing back, his voice rising in defense. Then Jin-Woo came back on the line and his voice had changed. It was cold, distant, nothing like the warm man Marcus had fallen in love with. "Marcus, you need to leave Chicago. Tonight." "What?" "No, we can fight this together." "There's no together," Jin-Woo said flatly. "This was a mistake. I should never have gotten you involved in my life. My family is right, you're a liability." Marcus felt his heart shatter. "You don't mean that. Jin-Woo, please." "Don't contact me again," Jin-Woo said, his voice breaking slightly on the last word. "Lose my number. Forget you knew me. It's over." The line went dead. Marcus collapsed on his apartment floor, his 28-year-old body racked with sobs. The paint-stained jeans and comfortable t-shirt Jin-Woo loved seeing him in now felt like mockings of his stupidity. He'd been betrayed by David again and now abandoned by the man he loved. His phone continued buzzing with hateful messages. The art world that had already rejected him now called him a criminal. Gallery owners who'd started showing interest in his new work withdrew their offers. Everything he'd rebuilt over 3 beautiful months crumbled in a single morning. Marcus looked at the paintings covering his apartment walls, the phoenix rising from ashes, the portraits of hope and new beginnings. They all felt like lies now. He'd trusted again. He'd loved again. And once more he'd lost everything. 2 months later, Marcus had lost his apartment. His landlord, seeing the news reports calling him a con artist, had evicted him. With no income and no prospects, Marcus took a bus to Detroit to stay with his Aunt Patricia, the woman who'd raised him after his parents died. Aunt Patricia was a 62-year-old black woman with deep brown skin, warm brown eyes, gray-streaked black hair pulled into a neat bun, and a round, kind face lined with wisdom. She wore a purple cardigan over a floral dress and greeted Marcus at her front door with a fierce hug. "Baby boy," she said, seeing the emptiness in his eyes. "Come on in." Marcus barely spoke those first weeks. He stayed in the small guest bedroom, staring at the ceiling, refusing to eat, refusing to hope. His art supplies remained packed in boxes. He'd stopped painting the day Jin-Woo abandoned him. Aunt Patricia let him grieve, bringing him meals, sitting quietly in his room, just being present. But one afternoon she'd had enough. She entered his room, pulled open the curtains flooding it with sunlight, and sat firmly on his bed. "Marcus Elijah Williams," she said in the voice that had made him do his homework as a kid. "I need you to listen to me." Marcus sat up, his face gaunt, his eyes hollow. "Baby, you survived the first betrayal from David," Aunt Patricia said, taking his hands. "You survived losing your career, your reputation, everything. You're stronger than you think." "I'm not strong, Auntie," Marcus whispered. "I'm broken. David betrayed me again. And Jin-Woo, he said I was a mistake. Do you believe that?" Aunt Patricia challenged. "Deep in your heart, do you believe Jin-Woo meant those words?" Marcus thought about Jin-Woo's voice breaking on that last phone call. The way Jin-Woo had said his family was dangerous. I don't know. "Sometimes," Aunt Patricia said gently, "people push away the ones they love to protect them. It don't make it right, but it don't mean the love wasn't real either." She stood and pulled out Marcus's boxed art supplies. "But here's what I know for sure. You can't let them steal your light. Not David, not Jin-Woo, not the hateful people on the internet. Your gift for creating beauty? That's yours. They can't take that unless you let them." "What if I paint and nobody cares?" Marcus asked. "Then you paint anyway," Aunt Patricia said firmly. "You don't create art for other people's approval. You create it because it's who you are. That's real healing, baby, doing who you are even when the world tells you to stop. She set a canvas in front of him, put a brush in his hand. Paint your pain. Paint your growth. Paint your truth. And when you're done you'll see you're not broken. You're becoming. Marcus looked at the blank canvas, then at his aunt's loving face. Slowly, hesitantly, he dipped the brush in paint. Weeks passed and Marcus painted. At first, the canvases were dark, angry slashes of black and red representing betrayal and heartbreak. But slowly, gradually, colors emerged. Blues of sadness transformed into hope. Grays of loneliness became silver linings. Marcus created a collection he titled Rising After the Fall. Each painting told a story, a man drowning but reaching for the surface. Broken chains lying at freed feet. A heart split in two but with light pouring from the crack. He painted Jin-Woo too, though he didn't plan to. A portrait emerged of a 35-year-old Korean man with pale skin and sharp features. Dark eyes filled with loneliness despite being surrounded by shadows representing his dangerous family. Marcus titled it, The Burden of Protection. He painted David as well, but not with anger. The painting showed two friends as boys, dreaming together before jealousy and greed corrupted one of them. Marcus titled it, When Friendship Dies. Aunt Patricia watched him transform. The hollow-eyed, broken man who'd arrived became someone stronger, more grounded. Marcus, now dressed in paint-covered overalls and an old t-shirt, his deep brown skin regaining its healthy glow, his angular face filling out from regular meals, looked more like himself than he had in years. You ready to show these to the world? Aunt Patricia asked one morning. Marcus looked at his collection, 23 paintings representing his journey through betrayal, heartbreak, and healing. I don't know if the world wants to see them, he admitted. That's fear talking, Aunt Patricia said. And I didn't raise no fearful man. Marcus contacted a small gallery in Detroit, run by Mrs. Chin, a 58-year-old Asian woman who'd seen his work years ago and always believed in his talent. Despite the scandal, she agreed to show his new collection. The night before the opening, Marcus couldn't sleep. What if no one came? What if people only showed up to mock him? What if his art wasn't good enough? But when morning came, Aunt Patricia was there, wearing her best purple dress, her gray-streaked hair freshly done, her warm brown eyes full of pride. You've already won, baby, she said. You created again. You chose healing over bitterness. Everything else is just noise. Marcus dressed carefully, dark jeans, a white button-up shirt, his paint-splattered jean jacket over it. Looking in the mirror, he saw someone different from the desperate janitor who'd stumbled into Jin-Woo's office 6 months ago. He saw someone who'd fallen twice and risen twice. At the gallery, Marcus's hands shook as he helped Mrs. Chen arrange the paintings. The collection glowed under the gallery lights, raw, honest, powerful. Each piece screamed truth about surviving when life tries to destroy you. They're extraordinary, Mrs. Chin said, her eyes watering. Marcus, these are the best work you've ever done. As opening time approached, Marcus prepared for an empty room. Instead, people began filing in, art lovers who remembered his earlier work, strangers who'd heard about the scandalous artist's return, journalists curious about his story. And then, at the back of the growing crowd, Marcus saw him. Jin-Woo Park, wearing a simple black suit and white shirt, his pale skin standing out in the diverse crowd, his sharp features etched with regret and hope, his dark eyes locked on Marcus with an intensity that made time stop. Their eyes met across the room and Marcus felt everything, the love, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the hope, crash over him like a wave. Jin-Woo began walking through the crowd toward him and Marcus's heart raced. He dreamed of this moment and feared it. What would Jin-Woo say? Why was he here? The gallery crowd seemed to sense something significant happening. Conversations quieted as Jin-Woo Park moved through the room toward Marcus Williams. Marcus's Aunt Patricia, standing nearby in her purple dress, placed a steady hand on his shoulder. Jin-Woo stopped 3 feet away, his 35-year-old face showing every sleepless night of the past 2 months. His usually perfect black hair was slightly disheveled, his expensive black suit couldn't hide the weight he'd lost, and his dark eyes were red-rimmed with exhaustion and emotion. Marcus, Jin-Woo said, his deep voice barely above a whisper. What are you doing here? Marcus asked, his own voice shaking. His 28-year-old heart was racing, his deep brown skin warming with emotion, his hands clenching into fists to stop their trembling. Instead of answering, Jin-Woo did something that shocked everyone in the gallery. This powerful CO, this man who commanded respect and fear, slowly dropped to his knees in front of Marcus and the gathered crowd. Gasps rippled through the room. Phones came out, recording. But Jin-Woo didn't seem to notice or care. I was wrong, Jin-Woo said, looking up at Marcus with tears streaming down his pale face. I pushed you away to protect you from my family, but I should have protected us, what we had together. I should have fought for you instead of abandoning you. Marcus felt his own tears starting. You called me a mistake, he said, his voice breaking. I lied, Jin-Woo said. You were never a mistake. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw you away out of fear. I'm so sorry, Marcus. I'm so incredibly sorry. Get up, Marcus whispered. Please get up. Jin-Woo stood and Marcus could see him trembling. My assistant Min-soo hired a private investigator, Jin-Woo continued. We found evidence that David created everything, the recordings, the lies about you knowing my business, all of it. You never betrayed me. You were a victim and I abandoned you when you needed me most. Marcus closed his eyes, processing. David had betrayed him again, yes, but he'd already accepted that. Jin-Woo's betrayal had cut deeper because he'd loved him. I don't know if I can trust you again, Marcus said honestly. You hurt me when I was already broken. I know, Jin-Woo said, his voice thick with emotion. And I don't expect immediate forgiveness. I just needed you to know the truth. I needed you to know that I never stopped loving you. Not for one single day. Aunt Patricia stepped forward, her warm brown eyes assessing Jin-Woo carefully. You the man who broke my nephew's heart? She asked bluntly. Yes, ma'am, Jin-Woo said, bowing respectfully. You planning to do it again? Never, Jin-Woo said firmly. I'll spend the rest of my life proving that if Marcus gives me the chance. Aunt Patricia looked at Marcus. Baby, this is your decision. But I'll say this, a man who gets on his knees in front of a crowd to apologize is a man who's learned something. Marcus looked at Jin-Woo's tear-stained face, seeing the genuine regret and love there. He thought about his paintings, about rising after falling, about choosing healing over bitterness. I need time, Marcus said finally. I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes either. I've grown stronger these past 2 months. I learned to stand on my own. If we try this again, it has to be as equals, not as someone rescuing someone else. Jin-Woo nodded, a small hopeful smile appearing through his tears. I'll wait as long as it takes. And Marcus? Your paintings are extraordinary. You've transformed your pain into something beautiful. That's real strength. Thank you, Marcus whispered. Jin-Woo reached into his suit pocket and pulled out a folder. This is all the evidence about David. Everything he's done, the original theft, the recordings, the lies. It's yours to do with as you wish. Justice, not revenge. Over the following weeks, Marcus and Jin-Woo worked together, carefully, slowly, rebuilding trust one conversation at a time. They met in public places, coffee shops, parks, the gallery where Marcus's collection had become surprisingly popular. People loved his honest paintings about surviving betrayal. Jin-Woo, dressed more casually now in dark jeans and simple sweaters instead of his intimidating suits, shared the evidence his investigators had gathered. Marcus, wearing his paint-splattered overalls and comfortable t-shirts, listened as Jin-Woo explained. Continue. 2:59 p.m. Everything. David Thompson had done more than just record Jin-Woo's confession. The investigators found proof that David had stolen Marcus's original artwork designs years ago. Emails showing David selling Marcus's work to galleries under his own name, financial records of payments David received, even text messages where David bragged to another artist about taking credit for Williams's talent. The evidence also showed David had illegally recorded Jin-Woo without consent, then edited the recording to make it sound worse than it was. Finally, there were social media records proving David had created fake accounts to spread lies about Marcus, using Jin-Woo for money. This is enough to clear your name completely, Jin-Woo said across a coffee shop table, his dark eyes intense. And to bring criminal charges against David for fraud, theft, illegal recording, and defamation. Marcus stared at the folder containing his vindication. For years he'd dreamed of proving David stole his work. Now he could. What about your family business? Marcus asked. The recording still exists. Jin-Woo's pale face became determined. I've been working with lawyers to legitimize everything. I'm shutting down the illegal operations my family built. Some family members are angry, but I don't care anymore. I won't build a future on secrets and fear. Marcus felt admiration surge through him. Jin-Woo was choosing the harder path, the honest one. Together they went to the police and the district attorney. The evidence was overwhelming. Within days, David Thompson was arrested. The 29-year-old man's round face no longer held arrogant confidence as police led him away in handcuffs. His hazel eyes were wide with shock and fear. The media coverage was massive. Headlines shifted from Marcus Williams, con artist, to Marcus Williams, victim of elaborate fraud. Gallery owners who'd rejected Marcus called to apologize. The art world that had abandoned him suddenly wanted him back. Marcus's Rising After the Fall collection sold out completely. Major galleries in New York, Los Angeles, and even internationally requested shows. His honest paintings about surviving betrayal resonated with people everywhere. But the sweetest revenge wasn't David's arrest or Marcus's success. It was the moment Marcus stood in front of reporters, Jin-Woo by his side, and told his truth. "David Thompson didn't just steal my artwork," Marcus said to the cameras, his deep brown skin glowing under the lights, his angular face confident and strong. "He tried to steal my future, my reputation, and my dignity. But he failed. Because I refused to let betrayal define me. I chose to create again, to trust again, to rise again." A reporter asked, "Do you forgive him?" Marcus thought carefully. "I don't forgive the actions. But I forgive myself for trusting him. And I've learned that healing isn't about the people who hurt you getting punished. It's about you choosing to live fully despite the pain they caused." Jin-Woo squeezed his hand and Marcus squeezed back. They still weren't officially together. Both were in therapy, working through their issues separately before fully reuniting. But the love between them was visible to everyone watching. After the press conference, Marcus and Jin-Woo walked through Chicago's Millennium Park. The early spring sun warmed them as they sat by the bean sculpture. "You know what's funny?" Marcus said. "David thought destroying me would make him feel better about himself. But all it did was prove he never had real talent. Meanwhile, I created the best work of my life from the ashes of what he tried to destroy." Jin-Woo smiled. "That's the difference between you and him. He takes. You create." 6 months after that press conference, Marcus Williams stood in his own art gallery. His own. Not Jin-Woo's money, not a loan, but funded entirely by the success of his Rising After the Fall collection and the commissions that had flooded in afterward. The gallery was in Chicago's West Loop, a beautiful space with high ceilings, exposed brick walls, and perfect lighting. Marcus, wearing a tailored navy suit that actually fit his now healthy frame, moved through the opening night crowd, his deep brown skin glowing with genuine happiness, his angular face relaxed and at peace. "Marcus," called Mrs. Chin, the Detroit gallery owner who'd first given him a second chance. "This is magnificent. Thank you for believing in me when no one else would," Marcus said, hugging her. Jin-Woo Park entered then, and Marcus's heart still skipped a beat seeing him. Jin-Woo at 35 looked younger than he had 6 months ago, the weight of secrets no longer burdening him. He wore a soft gray suit instead of his intimidating black ones, his pale skin healthy, his dark eyes bright, his black hair styled casually. He carried a bouquet of Marcus's favorite flowers. They'd been officially together for 3 months now, taking things slowly, building a foundation of honest communication and trust. Both had continued therapy individually and as a couple. They'd learned to fight fairly, to express needs clearly, to support without smothering. "Congratulations," Jin-Woo said, kissing Marcus softly in front of the crowd. 6 months ago, Jin-Woo would never have shown public affection, too concerned with his dangerous reputation. Now he didn't care who saw him loving Marcus. "I'm proud of you," Jin-Woo continued. "You did this yourself. You rebuilt everything on your own terms." "Not entirely alone," Marcus said, squeezing Jin-Woo's hand. "I had my aunt, I had therapy, I had you supporting me without trying to rescue me. That's the difference. You let me stand on my own while standing beside me." Aunt Patricia arrived, stunning in an emerald green dress, her gray-streaked hair elegantly styled, her warm brown eyes sparkling with pride. "My baby boy, the successful gallery owner," she exclaimed, hugging Marcus tightly. The evening was perfect. Marcus sold 6 paintings in the first hour. Art critics who'd once dismissed him now praised his evolution as an artist. Young artists approached him for advice, seeing him as an inspiration, someone who'd survived the worst and thrived. Near midnight, as the crowd thinned, Jin-Woo pulled Marcus aside. "I have something to tell you," he said nervously. Marcus's heart raced. "What?" "My family's business is completely legitimate now," Jin-Woo said. "It took 6 months, but we're done with all underground operations. We're now solely a legal security and technology company. No more secrets, no more illegal activities." "Jin-Woo, that's incredible," Marcus said. "I did it for me," Jin-Woo admitted. "But also for us. I want a future with you, Marcus. A real one built on honesty. No more shadows." Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. "I want that too." "There's one more thing," Jin-Woo said, pulling out a folder. Remember the community art center we originally planned together? Of course. I bought the property. And I want us to build it together as equal partners. Not employer and employee but partners. What do you think? Marcus looked at this man who'd stumbled into his life when both were at their lowest, who'd hurt him and then spent 6 months proving he'd changed, who'd chosen honesty and love over power and fear. I think, Marcus said slowly, that sounds perfect. But on one condition: we do it right. We get input from the community, we hire local artists, we make it truly accessible to everyone. Obviously, Jin-Woo said, smiling. I wouldn't expect anything less from you. They kissed again, longer this time, not caring that Aunt Patricia was watching with a knowing smile. 1 year after Marcus first walked into Jin-Woo's office as a janitor, they stood together at the opening of the Park Williams Community Arts Center. The name was Marcus's idea, a symbol of their equal partnership. The building was beautiful, a renovated warehouse in a South Side neighborhood that needed hope. The exterior featured a massive mural Marcus had designed and local youth had helped paint, a phoenix rising from ashes, its wings spreading across 3 stories of brick. Inside, the center buzzed with activity. Children from all backgrounds crowded around easels, their small hands covered in paint. Teenagers worked on digital art in a state-of-the-art computer lab. Adults attended free painting classes in the evening studios. Marcus, now 29, wore paint-splattered jeans and his favorite jean jacket over a white t-shirt, his deep brown skin glowing with pride as he moved through the space, helping a 6-year-old girl mix colors. His angular face showed laugh lines now, evidence of a year of genuine happiness. Jin-Woo, 36, had fully transformed from the lonely, burdened CO Marcus first met. He wore casual khaki pants and a soft blue sweater, his pale skin healthy, his sharp features relaxed. He was teaching a group of kids about Korean calligraphy, his dark eyes gentle and patient. Aunt Patricia was there too, volunteering as a mentor for young artists, her 63-year-old wisdom offered freely to anyone who needed guidance. She wore a bright yellow cardigan today, her gray-streaked hair pulled back, her warm brown eyes watching Marcus and Jin-Woo with satisfaction. Min-soo, Jin-Woo's assistant who'd helped expose David's lies, had become the center's director, managing operations with passionate efficiency. As the afternoon sun streamed through the large windows, Marcus and Jin-Woo found a quiet moment on the center's rooftop garden, away from the joyful chaos below. You remember what you said to me that first night? Marcus asked, leaning against the railing, looking out at the Chicago skyline. I said a lot of things, Jin-Woo replied, wrapping his arms around Marcus from behind. You said I was exactly who you needed, Marcus reminded him. That you saw someone who falls but always gets back up. I was right, Jin-Woo said softly. You fell twice, David's betrayals, my abandonment, and you rose stronger each time. Marcus turned in Jin-Woo's arms. We both did. You could have stayed in your family's shadow, kept the secrets and the power. Instead, you chose honesty and change. That takes real courage. We saved each other, Jin-Woo said. I gave you a chance when you needed one. You showed me that being kind and honest isn't weakness, it's the bravest thing you can be. Below them, they could hear children laughing, see young artists discovering their talents, watch a community coming together through creativity. People said I was past my prime, Marcus reflected. They said I'd never recover from David's betrayal. Jin-Woo smiled, cupping Marcus's face in his hands. I knew better. I saw exactly who you were from that first night, someone who falls but always gets back up. Someone who chooses creation over destruction, healing over bitterness, love over fear. That's why I needed you in my life. And I see you too, Marcus responded, his voice thick with emotion. Not the scary boss everyone else sees, but the person who's brave enough to change and grow, who chose integrity over power, who learned to love openly instead of hiding behind walls. We both rose after the fall, Jin-Woo whispered. Together, Marcus added. They kissed as the sun set over Chicago, painting the sky in oranges and purples and golds, colors that would have inspired the old Marcus, colors that now represented the future they were building together. Their story wasn't about perfect love or easy redemption. It was about two broken people who chose healing, who demanded honesty, who built something real and meaningful together. It was about betrayal survived, trust rebuilt, and the understanding that you're never past your prime when you refuse to give up on yourself or the people worth fighting for. Below them, a child squealed with delight at their first finished painting, and Marcus and Jin-Woo smiled, knowing they'd created something that would last long after their own story ended.